So for this tip, I've titled it Rotate to Create, and that's exactly what we'll be doing. If you're someone that likes slightly abstract brand marks that are loosely related maybe to logo type or some other part of your logo, this is a really effective way to do that, as you can see from the example I've got on the screen now. So for this example, Barber Box, we've simply taken the B from the brand name and rotated that in place at a 90-degree angle, and that's given a really effective custom brand mark. So I'll show you how to do that using the rotate tool. And to walk you through the steps, if you start as I have with a letter of choice, we'll duplicate that, and I would outline the type first. So the shortcut is Command or Control-Shift-O. And when you've done that, the shortcut to open up the rotate tool is R. And you'll notice there's a little turquoise anchor point icon. You can see that starts off in the center of the object. Now, to achieve the desired effect, I want to rotate it on this axis. So just at the base of the B, ignoring the serif to the left. So if I zoom in a little, that's where I want to place it. It doesn't have to be exactly precise. You can always nudge it a little at the end, but let's get it as close as we can to begin with. So I'm going to left click at that point, and then holding the Alt modifier so that it creates a duplicate, I'm going to drag, and as I do that, you can see it's rotating that object around that anchor point. If you also hold the Shift modifier key, as you rotate, you'll see it snaps to a 45-degree increment. So we want 90 degrees. So I'll position it there, release my click, but not the modifier keys, and that duplicates it in place. If you hit Control or Command D, that will repeat the last transformation. So we'll do that twice. And there you can see we've got the core of the shape we created there, which is quite effective. Now, personally, I can still really clearly see the B because it's completely upright. So if I select all those shapes and just using a regular free transform, I'll rotate by 45 degrees. And again, holding Shift, it makes sure it locks it exactly to that increment. That's now, it's still a B, but it's less obvious. And when you place that within another shape, it does become quite abstract. It's a nice touch, but when you look closely, you see, they've used a B there as the core of that mark. But I like to not make it too obvious. So if I head to our next artboard, you can see where I've done that. And I think a nice touch is just mirroring the aesthetic of a B. So we've got a broader stroke and a narrower stroke. And I've just mirrored that by creating a key line. But again, it's not precisely aligned to the shape. You can see what the effect would be if I aligned it more or less precisely around that mark. It's nice, but I quite like putting it at odds with the angle. So again, it's a little more abstract. And I think that's a really nice end result we have to play with there. So you can use that principle and create all kinds of custom marks. You don't have to use a character as the base. You could use something else. But it's a really effective way to create something new if you're keen on abstract. I'll show you one more example. And this rotation of the S would result in something like this shape we've got to the right here. And this time I've placed it inside. I've actually not placed it in the exact center, which is irritating me now. I'm going to group those objects and just do a center align. But this time we've got 6 points of rotation. So how do we achieve that? Because if we, after outlining the S and hitting rotate, use the same trick as earlier, and hold shift to snap that increment to 45 degrees, well, we can only achieve either 8 points or 4 points of rotation. So something else you can do with a rotate tool, and I'm first of all just going to use an object as a placeholder. So can you see where the magenta line shows me I'm over the exact center of the S? I'm going to drop it there. That's if you've got smart guides turned on. And I'm going to create just a little something here so that I've got a reference point to place an anchor when I rotate this. And I'm going to, with the S selected, hit R. So you can see the rotate tool is selected. And this time, before clicking, if you hold the Alt modifier key, and I'm going to hit the point where those two shapes intersect, that's my reference point, you'll see it pops up now with a dialog box, and it allows you to enter the exact amount you want to rotate, which is really handy. So 60 degrees, that's going to give me 6 points, but divide 360 by the desired number of points of rotation, and that will give you the angle you need to use. So for me, that's 60. I'm going to hit copy so that it copies a shape. And again, if we use the trick Control D or Command D, we can duplicate that transformation. And there we have the 6 points. And I can delete that guide. Now you'll notice that's a little more spaced out than the example I created earlier on the right. So if I wanted to achieve something a little closer to that, and I've deliberately left this reference point, if I shift it up, select the S, and we'll try again by alt clicking 60 degrees and copy, duplicate that with Command or Control D, you can see that's a little closer. And that's just to illustrate the fact you may have to play with a little trial and error to see what kind of spacing you want, exactly what kind of effect you're looking for when you're rotating these shapes in place. So that's how you use the rotate tool to create something new and unique. And to me, the result is really stunning. It's not something that's going to work with every project, with every letter, every experiment you try, but it's well worth exploring, and it's a really useful tip to have up your sleeve.